When you see the problems that are happening, now, it doesn't matter if you're black, if you're white, if you're Hispanic. Why do you think a lot of the problems that people are having, they do? Do you think that when people are dating, when they're looking for it, because most folks date because they want to have somebody to be with. If you're dating somebody, this doesn't apply to you guys. If you're dating and you're not looking to get married, first of all, you shouldn't be dating if you're not looking to get married. I think you should be more committed to something more tangible in the future. But if all you're doing is just looking around and lay around, we're not talking about you. But for the folks who are looking for a relationship, those that are single, and those that have a relationship, those that are married, or those that are dating someone looking for it to grow into marriage. We keep running into these problems, right? Folks are fighting, and it's getting pretty messy out there to the point to where now folks are just settling for just hookups. Just come on over and let's do what we're going to do, whatever. If it leads to something, maybe not. What do you think is the biggest cause of some of these problems out there? And I asked this question of you the other day about, do you think a lot of the problems have to do, I don't know, let's just say this, guys, especially for a lot of black and Hispanic people. We kind of wonder, is this a cultural thing? Or is the issue with some people, is it an economics thing? Or is it a kind of an age or maturity issue?
You asking me?
I'm asking you, what do you think?
Well, I think in some instances it can definitely be cultural.
What do you mean?
For what? Can I bring up the whole example I told you about what happened at church with the whole Bible study with the young men?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I think it's cultural, and for whatever reason, I don't believe. For whatever reason, it seems like, and I'm not trying to say that this is all Hispanics or Hispanic families, but oftentimes in Hispanic families, they honor more traditional ways of doing things. They honor family, and for the most part, and I'm not saying that this is all of them, but there's a deep respect for the husband. There's a deep respect for the father. And I say that to say this because a couple years ago, I was actually doing Bible study for some kids. And we live here, me and Corey, we both live here in Dallas. All right. But my church specifically is located in DeSoto, and I was doing Bible study with some kids, some teenagers, and there was young men and women in the class, and the young African American boys. Somehow we got on the topic of dating. All right, and one boy just said, "Hey, he's like, hey, look, bruh." Or he didn't say bruh, but this is how he said. He said, "Look, man, I don't." He said, "I don't date black girls in my school." And I was like, "What? What do you like? Hold on." And he's black as well. And I said, "Well, what do you mean you don't date?" He's like, "Cause they all mean." I said, "Well." I'm like, well, hold up. It can't be all of them, right? He was like, no, all the girls in my school, all the black girls in my school, they're mean. And I was like, what? That can't be all black. And he was like, no, all the women in my school, all the black women in my school are mean. And then like a chorus, all the other young black men and some of the black women were like, yeah, they mean. They're all mean. They're mean. And I said, well, okay, so you don't like them because they're mean? He said, yeah, not only are they mean, but they act too manly. They act like dudes, and I don't want to date a dude. All right. And so his default, along with a lot of brothers in that class, said that they specifically date Hispanic women or Hispanic girls. He said, and I said, well, why did you? Well, because they're at our school as well. And it seems as if they're more feminine. They're nicer to us. They don't worry about if we have the latest J's or not. And they just respect us and treat us nice, and they act like girls. Said the girls at my school, they act too much like boys. They always fight. And as we, I don't know if y'all live in the DeSoto or Dallas area, but there's been a lot of fights at DeSoto High School. And honestly, those fights have been mostly by girls. And so I think that speaks to the larger issue. It's not just happening here in Dallas. It's actually happening across the United States, where we're having a lot of our women are acting very masculine, acting very aggressive. And yes, they may be female, but there's nothing ladylike about how the way that they carry themselves. And so this speaks to the greater issue. So when it comes to, and we talked about fighting women and all this other stuff. So when it comes to bucking up to a man or a boy, they think nothing of it. Why? Because this is what they do. Well, we see the end result of that. You find out real quick you're not a boy. All right. And so we have this friction within our community. And that's not to say, hey, it's just a Black community, just a Hispanic community, but I can only speak about the community I'm a part of. In the Black community, there seems to be this friction. And then, just my experience, and it broke my little heart, y'all. I'm sorry, my heart. This is the heart of a man. This is the heart in a man. All right. So it broke my little heart. All right. Cause I was coming home from work, and I stopped by the grocery store. I do accounting work. I do accounting. All right. And so I was dressed up pretty nice, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't business casual, it was business-like, all right? And I went to a Walmart, all right, to just get some stuff before I got home or whatever. And so there was and it's nothing against Caucasian people, white folk, but there was a white man who was maybe a few years older than me, and he had on flip-flops, and he had kind of like a little beach shirt. It was the summertime. He was dressed really casual, laid back, all that, right? And he asked the woman, he said, can I, and he said it, and he didn't really say it too nicely, to be honest with you. He said, can I have the divider? And just said it just like that. And she handed it to the man. Now the cash register, she was I think a woman around her, it looked like she was in her late 50s or whatever. She looked the man in the eye, smiled at the man as she handed him the divider and said, here you go, sir. She gave it to him. And he didn't even ask really nice. And so I'm thinking like, oh, cool. I got a nice cash register. So I'm looking forward to it getting checked out. You have those dividers that divide your groceries from the person in front of you and all that stuff. So I got up to the cash register and I'm like, can I please have a divider? And I asked really nicely. Let me tell you, I don't know. Can I say heifer? Can I? Okay, I just did. Okay. Let me tell y'all what the heifer did. She did not look at me. She did not say a word to me. When I asked her nicely for the divider to divide my food, she threw it on my food. Didn't say a word to me. Didn't look at me. No eye contact. No nothing. Just threw it on my food. And I'm like, if I don't listen, I don't even cuss, y'all. But listen, some stuff was going on in my cabeza. All right. And then when I checked out, the woman had the nerve to say to me when I was paying for my groceries and about to leave, she said, you have a blessed day. And I'm like, let me tell you something, chick. I didn't say it. But in my head, I'm like, I was having a nice day until I ran into your nasty behind. All right. And so that caused a great friction within myself. There was a lot of frustration. All right. Because I'm like, what is it about this tension that we have between Black men and Black women? And the woman don't even know me from Adam. And I asked her nicely for the divider. She could not look at me. She did not talk to me. She threw the stuff on my food. I should have reported her, but to be honest with you, I don't think it would have done no good. So that's my little story about was it Wednesday night Bible study with the young Black men and women about their mentality or whatever, and that's my little story about it. And I'm like, so you something has to be done about this.
That's creeping into these relationships.
Yes, it's creeping right into this relationship. Why do we have so much disdain for African American men? There was no excuse. There was no reason for her to do that to me. But she felt, I guess she felt that she was anticipating that, I wasn't about nothing, even though I was dressed really nice, really respectful. In her mind, I wasn't nothing. And so that's what a lot of men have been taught. That's what a lot of men have seen in our community. We have this notion, and you can look at platform after platform that says that our men.
So what you're saying is,
our man ain't
no man won't, no man, black, white, or Hispanic wants to put up with that kind of attitude.
Nobody wants to put up with that.
Here's what I'm thinking, guys. Jermaine and I were talking about this. Now, I'm a little older than Jermaine. How old are you, Jermaine?
I just turned 40 last year.
Okay. So I'm a decade older than I shouldn't have said that. Y'all. I wasn't supposed to say y'all my age, but I'm older than him, and I started noticing something, because again, you can start seeing how some things have changed, and I see where a lot of people are having these issues, but I'm wondering if it's not so much of cultural, if the issue has to be one, economics, and then two, age or maturity. Here's why I say that. And guys, again, if anyone is wanting, I know there's some folks who want to come on. If you guys are wanting to come on, send me an email and I'll send you the link. Okay. But I think what causes the cultural issue is probably the economics issue on top of the age and the maturity. Because sometimes if you had that kind of attitude, mentality, and nothing has ever worked for you, when you get into your 40s and your 50s, you start, you know what, I'm through with all the drama. Some folks just like drama, and it tends to be the younger people who like drama. Now, if you're older and you like drama, you're a fool. Okay, let me just put it that way. If you're older and you like drama, you are a fool, or you're foolish. Not in a biblical sense, not that that you know the Lord, but you're behaving foolishly. Okay, now, economics, and here's what I mean. Let's say you come from an impoverished background or a low economic background, and you get some money. And we talked about how people, in the Dallas area, some black folks got some money, and they began moving towards the southern part to the DeSoto's and Cedar Hills, but they still were brought up in a kind of a hood environment, and they brought that sort of hood mentality with them. Yeah. And into their relationship. Now, granted, you can be white with a hood mentality. You can be Hispanic, because we've seen it. We've seen it. And so what we're really speaking to is the hood mentality. And unfortunately, a lot of black folks still do have that, but whites and Hispanic. A lot of that is economics, not from, it's driven by, go ahead.
Let me address something real. I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt. Jarena, Serena says maybe she was having a bad day. Well, did her bad day become bad when I stepped to her? Because just about 30 seconds earlier, she must have been having a good day, because she chose what she was going to do when the white man got in line. Mm-hmm. But when I got to the cash register, did I make her day bad? So we can't go on this, well, maybe she was having a bad day. There's never a day that is so bad that warrants you treating somebody that way. And then when we see where you have the discretion and you have the restraint to know when to turn it on and when to turn it off, but then when you see me of ebony hue, all of a sudden you done cut the attitude back on, we got a problem. Houston, we got a problem, even though we in Dallas. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Corey.
Oh, hold on. I almost accidentally banned someone. I'm pushing these buttons over here, and I almost banned Building Biblical Truth. I was looking for her response, and I almost messed up. So anyway, so here's what I think the issue is. If a person has grown up in a lower economic environment and then gained some money, oftentimes we still bring that mentality with us, right?
Yeah.
But let's say if a person who might be black, if they grew up in an environment where mom and daddy was together, I said mom and daddy were together. I said mama and daddy were together. Amen. That helps a whole lot. And then if they had a little bit of money, they weren't, at the bottom end, they tended to act a certain way. Now, don't discount the fact of how many people grow up without a father and how they respond, how they act. Why do a lot of black women act a certain way? Because a lot of black women, most of them, 72% of us guys are born out of wedlock. Daddy wasn't around. That's a huge problem. That makes a big difference. And so when you come in contact with Black Mary, instead of white Mary, it might be different because maybe white Mary grew up with her white daddy and black Mary did not have her black father. And so there's an issue because what black Mary might be able to testify to is that her mother, her cousins, her aunts, all of her friends, they've seen bad relationships because no men were around to raise these boys in his household. No men were around to show these girls how to be young ladies. And so when you get people who don't know who don't have a daddy around, and they get together, you got a bunch of fools come together, make some foolish babies and make more foolish decisions. And so we see the repercussions of that. And now one of them goes off to college, gets a job, and what's happening? They still have this same defeatist, losing mentality that they bring into a relationship, or how they interact with people. And so a lot of that has to do with some socioeconomic issues and thinking that, because we're being told, though, we are being told, everybody, white, black, Hispanic, men and women, that we ought to express ourselves. No, you don't. God is really wanting you to shut up. The Bible says a person who wants to express his thoughts is a fool. Okay, so you want to give somebody a piece of your mind. Well, if I were single and I see a young lady who wants, the neck snapping and head rolling, I'm sorry, you might look like Beyonce, but look like Beyonce over here with somebody else. I don't want the 10 with the attitude. I want the 5 with the heart.
Yeah, my manager, rapper, producer, me and myself, how I've been introducing. Hello, this is the one I've been schooling. Learned it myself cause I've been my own student. Yeah, pajamas inventing the movement. We don't conform to what's been coming to us.